So today we will study about the anatomy and physiology of the spinal cord, part 5, and we will see that how the descending tracts are formed. And before proceeding to the next thing, we will discuss the question which I had given you earlier. I had not received any comment yet, so please solve this question so that I came to know that you are learning. So let's discuss how the spinal lemniscus is formed. As we have earlier seen that how it is formed, right? But I will show you now that see, for example, this is the spinal cord, right? And if we see that the sensations are coming, I will not go into the detail from this thing, right? Dorsal horn and dorsal root ganglion. Here the substantia gelatinosa. From here the lateral spinothalamic tract will proceed up to upwards and likewise your what which tract? Yes, your anterior spinothalamic tract and your which tract? Good, cerebellar tract, right? These three tracts which ascends upwards, there the bundle together they will call the spinal lemniscus, right? So the answer would be your anterior spinothalamic tract, right? Your lateral spinothalamic tract and your spinotectal tract, which is formed from here and goes up to the tectum in the midbrain, right? For example, midbrain, pons, and medulla. Here it goes up to here and in the superior colliculi it terminates. So these three tracts in the pathway or in the going upwards, they form together your spinal meniscus. Fine. So the answer would be all of the above. This would be the answer. Now today let's proceed to the next thing. So we will study today about the descending tracts. Descending tract is also named as the another tract which is also called your pyramidal tract. I'll tell you why they are named as this. As I told you, there is no need to remind anything in the neuroanatomy. You just have to understand it. If you understand it, it will easily come to your mind and you don't need to remember anything. See, for example, we have discussed earlier, right? I'll just give you the short revision type. See, this is your cortex, your midbrain, your pons, your medulla, and your spinal cord. Like, see, and the tracts or the axons which are going upwards, taking the information from your spinal level to your brain level, they are called your which tracts? Yes, they are called your ascending tracts. Fine, which we have studied in detail. If you have any confusion, just go to my video and just see that what are the tracks and how what is the pathway of them and what is the function, right? And if you're talking that the tracks or the axons which are coming from the brain to your spinal level, these are coming downwards, right? So descend downwards, these are called descending tracks. Simple. It's very easy. I'll tell you the basic things, then we will proceed that how or what is the pathway of the tract, right? Yes. Now see, descending tracts, it's clear to you that the axons or the bundle of the fibers which are coming or descending downwards from your brain to the spinal cord, these are called your descending tracts. Fine. So we will see that what are the descending tracts and how they are following the what is the pathway of it. So let's discuss. First of all, I'll draw one diagram. So your midbrain, your pons, and your medulla, and this is your spinal cord. Fine. So from here, from this is your cortex or your cerebrum. Now we will see the origins, that from where the this tract is originated. These have origins, many origins. Let's discuss that. For example, you have the first origin, which is your area number 4, that is your primary motor area. Then is your premotor area. Then is your supplementary motor area and the areas of the frontal lobes. From there, it will be originating, and from there, the fibers are taking origin and they are descending downwards as a form of corona radiata. What is corona radiata? I told you in the ascending tracts also. These are the fan shaped like structure which is fanning out, fanning, which is fanning, right? Fanning like structure. Because why it is called fanning like structure? Because it shapes like fan, right? The structure, the fibers of the white column only which are descending downwards, they diverge in the fan like structure, that is called your corona radiata. And we have discussed your internal capsule, which is between your caudate nucleus and your thalamus on the other side, which is the lenticular nucleus is present. From there it descends downwards, and on the internal capsule it converges, right? And from there it descends downwards, crossing your midbrain and your pons, then reaching the medulla and the upper surface of the and in the upper part of the interior surface of the medulla, like from here, if you see, right, it forms a pyramid like structure. We will see. I'll just giving you the short summary. Here the fibers are crossing, so the crossing fibers, see, like this, it will form a shape of a pyramid. That is why they are called the pyramidal tracks. So here it crosses and then descends further downwards. Let's see now how it is happening, right? We will see in the detail. Just a second. Let me erase this. Okay. See, this is your cortex, right? As we have discussed, this is your cortex and cerebrum. Fine. Right. We will see that in your brain you have the areas. You know that now. We have the areas which are depicting your which are depicting your points, right? For example, you have the motor area, you have the sensory area, you have the visual sensation area, you have the visual motor area. Means in your brain you have the areas which are depending upon the different functions of the brain. Fine. So if we are talking about today, we are have to discuss about the descending tracts or your pyramidal tracts. So here we are going to discuss that how it is getting originated. It is originating from your, you know that this is your brain. For example, we have the two hemisphere, and in your brain you have the central sulcus. Before it you have the precentral gyri, and before after the line that is showing the central sulcus, you have the postcentral sulcus. Fine. So I'm not going into the detail of the areas of the brain right now. Right now I'll just tell you that what are the functions of it if you need it. For example, first is your area 4 or your primary motor area. from here the fibers, some of the fibers are originating. Fine. For example, this is your primary motor area 4, right? And then your premotor area. From here, then your supplementary motor area. I'll show with the another pen. So, supplementary motor area. These motor areas are mostly located in your frontal lobes. Supplementary motor area, right? So your primary motor area, your premotor area, your supplementary motor area, then your parts of the or areas of the frontal lobe. If I draw it with another pen, you can say this. Okay. And then your which area? Your somatosensory area. It's very important. What is the somatosensory area? That is your 312. Means in the brain you have the sensory area which is numbered like 312, means you have the numericals area, means you have the numbers which are depicting your the different parts of the area and which has a different function. So from these, all of these tract, your descending tract or your pyramidal tract emerges or originated, and it formed here like your fan like structure. Have you seen that? Like this. It is called your corona radiata. I'll write it properly so that it is clear to you. Let's draw it with another pen. Right. It's corona radiata. Fine. Then we have discussed earlier also that you have the thalamus in the midbrain, and this is your internal capsule. Here is your caudate nucleus and here is your lentiform nucleus. Fine. So from here your coronary data converges on the, means it is fanning now, so it is diverged like structure. So when it converges on the internal capsule, so it gets converged. So here in the internal capsule it gets converged and then it descends downwards. Let us draw your internal capsule with another pen so it will be more visible to you. Fine. See, from here it converges and your fibers are descending downwards in the upper part of the medulla. This is your medulla, right? So here what happens is, here is very interesting story. See, the fibers which are coming from this, for example, is your right side and this is your left side. Fine. So the fibers which are converging or which are coming downwards from the right side, the same manner, in the same likewise same manner, your fibers are coming same from the left side also. Okay, but I'll draw here only from the one side, so it is clear the same thing is happening in the left side also, right? So we have, I have told you that in the interior surface of the upper surface of the medulla, your fibers get crossed. So what happens is, from here it is getting crossed, means your right side bundle which is descending downwards, now it takes the turn towards your left side, And the same ways, if your fibers are on the left side, from the left side it is crossing to your right side. Fine. So here this shape, the decussation means crossing. So here it looks like your pyramid. That is why they are called the pyramidal tracts. And the decussation is occurring, so here it is called your pyramidal decussation. Fine. It appears like your pyramid now. That is why it is pyramidal tract. And the decussation is occurring on the interior surface of the upper part of the medulla. So you have the pyramidal decussation over here. Fine. Now let's see one more interesting thing. See, 80% of the fibers are crossed from the both sides. 80% fibers are crossed, but 20% which are remaining, they will not cross and will appear on the same side or descending on the same side. Fine, these are your 20% fibers. So, we have discussed earlier when we were doing the anatomy basics of the spinal cord in the part 1. If you have any doubt, just look at that video first. See, the tracts which are descending downwards, it has a termination, fine. So, where it will get terminate? Obviously in the spinal cord. But in which region of the spinal cord, if we see, for example, these are getting descending downwards and it will terminate in your anterior horn. Fine. But why? Yes, any answers? Please comment me in the comment section. See, I told you your anterior horn is responsible for your motor actions and your dorsal horn is responsible for your sensory actions. Now here what happens is it is your descending or pyramidal tracts and it is responsible for your motor activity, means whatever you are doing, your skilled voluntary movements which are controlled by your pyramidal or descending tracts. So they will obviously terminate in your anterior horn. From here you know that your anterior root will be formed, right? I'll draw it on the another slide. Just a second, let me take a new slide. See, the fibers which are descending downwards, I'm not now drawing that medulla and upper thing. To make you understand, I'm drawing your spinal cord structure, right? See, if I'll take another pen, see, the fibers which are coming from the right side, they form the decussation and crossed in the opposite side and they descend in your anterior horn. Either they will directly terminate here or through the international neurons. I'll tell you what are the international neurons, don't get confused. But here, up to here, if it is clear that 80% of the fibers which are crossed from your at the medulla and the pyramidal decussation, they will terminate in your anterior horn. And what is the destination of it? We have discussed that it is your ventral root and it is your dorsal root, right? We have already discussed. See, from the ventral root, your neurons or your motor neurons will become and they will supply to your muscle or gland, whatever means your effectors. Now your reflex arc is also complete, right? Now if we proceed, if we see the previous slide, the 80% fibers, we know the termination of it, that where it has gone. But what is about the 20% of the fibers which are remaining? See, they are very thin. They are very thin, and if you see their termination, it will descend downwards like this only. It will descend downwards, and At the spinal level only, through the internuncial neurons, they will also cross to the opposite sides of the anterior horn. Otherwise, it will be remaining in the anterior column only. For example, it terminates here on the same side, but with the internuncial neurons, it will also cross and terminate on the anterior horn cell. If they go to the anterior horn cell, from there also it will go to your effectors or your glands. Fine, effectors like your muscle or your gland. But what is the importance that these 20% of fibers are very thin and they will just terminate up to the means they are present only at the mid thoracic levels. Below it they are absent. At the mid thoracic levels they are present, and one more thing, they are continually, if they are descending downwards, for example they are at the cervical level, they are thick, but as they are descending downwards, the fibers becomes very thin, right? And then also they are getting crossed only, means at the through the internuncial neurons they are getting crossed. Fine. For then their destination is also as the same, they will supply to your effector organs, that is your muscle or your gland. Now we will see one thing, that what are internuncial neurons. See, if I say that this is the tract or this is right, one more thing I want to add here, the tract, see, which is crossed, right? This is your called, yes, any idea? Lateral corticospinal tract, because it is or lateral pyramidal tract or descending tracts. Why they are called corticospinal? Because they are originating from the cortical region or the your brain, and it is descending to the spinal cord, so they are called the corticospinal tracts. Fine. And this is your lateral corticospinal tract. Another name for it is your indirect corticospinal tract. Fine. Likewise, if you have the fibers which are not crossing 20% of the fibers, these are called your anterior corticospinal tract or your direct corticospinal tract. Fine. So we will proceed to the next thing. See, now if I have to talk about the internuncial neurons are nothing but, see, for example, if the tract or the lateral corticospinal tract, sorry, lateral corticospinal tract is coming downwards, if they are directly, form the synapses in the anterior horn cell, right? From there the neurons go to the effector organ, then this is a direct neuron. For example, if they terminate up to here, right? I'll draw it with another pen so it is more clear. So if they terminate here, right, and from here the another neuron will be come, for example, from here the another neuron will become and getting synapse in the anterior horn cell. So the neurons which are connecting from the termination to the anterior horn cell, they are called the internuncial neuron. Inter means between, so nuncial neuron means they are connecting from where the main tract is terminated, and from there it is connecting, new neurons will become into the part, they are called your internuncial neurons. Fine. This term is also clear. So this is your pyramidal tract. What are the names? Yes, your pyramidal tract, your corticospinal tract, or your anterior and lateral corticospinal tract. If I talk about the interior, this is called your direct corticospinal tract. If I talk about the lateral, it is called your indirect corticospinal tract. Clear? So now if we talk about the origin, let's revise it. First of all, it will originate from the primary motor area. Very good. Your primary motor area includes your area number 4. And most typically, if you talk about the area number 4, it originates from your bed cells. Bed cells or your pyramidal cells. Fine. And another one is your premotor area. Another supplementary motor area. Very good. And fourth one is your, yes, any guesses? Area, parts of the frontal lobe. And one more which is left, origin. Which is your somatosensory area. Right? So origin is clear. Your pyramidal tract is complete. But let's revise it with the diagram. I'll show you one diagram. I think it will be more clear with that. Just a second. See. You can see from here. See, this is your cortex. If we see, this is your cortex, your cortical area. Right? And this part, if I talk about, this is your midbrain, this is your pons, and this is your medulla, and this is your spinal cord. Like I told you, the pyramidal tract is originating from your primary motor area. This is your primary motor area. This is your premotor area, and this one is your supplementary motor area, and also other parts of the uh, sorry, this is your supplementary motor area, and this is your somatosensory area, area number 312. So this is originating from here and other parts of the frontal lobe, and then it descend downwards. See, it forms a corona radiata, means fan-like structure is formed. So we will name it as a corona radiata, the fan-like structure. But below that, it converges downwards and descending from the internal capsule. Here your internal capsule is present between your, very good, between your thalamus that lenticular nucleus and a caudate nucleus. Your internal capsule is there. So from there it will descend downwards, crossing your brain stem, appearing at the medulla. In the upper part of the medulla, at the anterior surface, it will cross. See, here it will form the pyramidal decussation. It will the picture looks like of pyramid, so that is why it is called the pyramidal tract. And if you see, 80% of the fibers are crossed. They are named as your lateral corticospinal tract, which we have discussed, and the 20% of the fibers which are remaining, it will terminate downwards in the same side, but on the but at the spinal level it will also cross through the internuncial neurons. Right, I told you which are internuncial neurons. See, for example, it will terminate here, right, and from there you can see this. If you can see this neuron, see, this neuron is your internuncial neuron, which is connecting up to the anterior horn cell from the termination point, right? So it will supply to your anterior motor horn, and from there we have the anterior root, and from there it will supply to your effectors. Fine. So this is your pyramidal tracts. So everything is cleared up to here. So now if it is cleared, let's proceed to the function of it. Just a second, I'll take a new slide. See, Now we will see the functions of the pyramidal tracts. Before studying about the functions of the pyramidal tracts, I'll tell you one interesting thing. See, pyramidal tracts which are responsible for your skilled motor and voluntary movements, right? I told you earlier only while we were studying about this. So, if you can see in the old age, shivering happens. You know what is shivering? Like this means involuntary movement of your extremity, like this means it is happening itself, means the patient is not or the person is not doing it voluntarily, it is happening involuntarily. For example, if I told you that these pyramidal tracts which we have studied, these have the degeneration, means they degenerate with your age. If they degenerate with your age, so function of it will be also be disappeared, right? So that is why if the pyramidal tracts are degenerating, so this is the reason why in the old age this involuntary shivering happens like this, right? This is the reason why the shivering happens in the old age. If you see the old age person, the shivering is happening in them. So why it is what is the reason behind it? The reason behind it is the pyramidal tracts which are degenerating with the age. Due to it, the voluntary movements are not in control, so that is why it is involuntary movements are occurring in your extremities, that is showing to you as a shivering movements. Fine. So this is the one reason. And if we talk about the functions of the pyramidal tract, they are skilled motor movements, and your voluntary movements. Right. Now I also have to make you understand one concept. See, for example, just a second. I don't know why it is getting inverted, because my drawing board is getting is there placing inverted, so that is why it is drawing inverted, right? See, this is your spinal cord. It is very important concept, please do focus it. For example, I'll not draw everything. For example, this is the medulla and your cortex and midbrain, pons, and from here the fibers decussate here. Yes. See, up to the interior horn cell. This is your interior horn cell. Up to here, the tracts, if there is any lesion, means this will be formed under the upper motor neuron. And if I talk about the lower motor neuron, what is that? This is your anterior horn cell, means AHC, right? The neurons which are starting from your anterior horn cell up to your effectors, okay, means anterior horn cell to effectors, they are called your simple. It means it is a simple term I can make you understand. They are your lower motor neurons. Fine. And the neurons which are originating from your cortex to the anterior horn cell. You know now what is anterior horn cell, right? So these are called your upper motor neuron. It is very important to learn it, very important to understand it, because we have the concept of the upper motor neuron lesion and the lower motor neuron lesion. right? Means the patient is presenting with the different symptoms if they have the upper motor neuron or the lower motor neuron. I'll tell you how they are presenting, but before that, it is worth repeating and it is very important or very necessary to understand that the neurons or the white matter which is coming from the cortex to the anterior horn cell, means up to anterior horn cell, if there is any neuron from the cortex, they are called your upper motor neuron, and from the anterior horn cell to the effector, it is called your lower motor neuron. Is that clear? So if it is clear, we will proceed to the next thing. Let me take the new slide. Yes, we will see the differences. Now I'll say the lesion. See, you have this tract, right? If I say up to here, this is your upper motor neuron lesion up to anterior horn cell, and from the anterior horn cell to the effector organ, these are your lower motor neuron. If I say the patient, if I say, wait, I'll take a pen. See, purple pen. So if I say the patient has an injury and got injured from here, so how the patient or what is the level of the injury which happened to the patient? Yes, yes, any guesses? Very good. These are your upper motor neurons. So patient will get the injury of upper motor neuron lesion. Lesion means your injury. So neurons are involved is your upper motor neuron. So the lesion will be, type of the lesion will be upper motor neuron lesion. Simple. And if I say the patient has the injury or the lesion here or here, means anywhere from the effector to your anterior horn cell, if the patient got injured, so the lesion would be, or the type of injury would be, lower motor neuron lesion. Up to here it is clear? Fine. It is very simple. You have to make the concept that up to the anterior horn cell coming from the cortex, they are your upper motor neurons, and from the anterior horn cells to the effectors, they are your lower motor neurons. Now, if the patient is getting injury or the lesion involving the fibers which are at the or above the anterior horn cell. So the patient will present the how the patient will be present. Patient will present the upper motor neuron type lesion, right? And if the patient is having injury or the lesion below the anterior horn cell, so the patient will present lower motor neuron type lesion, right? Now we will see that what are the differences in the upper motor neuron and the lower motor neuron. See, the first and foremost point is, if the patient is suffering from the upper motor neuron lesion, patient will present as spastic. You know what is spastic? Means your both the muscle, means your agonist and your antagonist. For example, your flexors as well as your extensors, these are continually contracting. Means if you want to do the movement, you need to relax one, means either your agonist or your antagonist. For example, if we take up the example here, see, if I have to do the function of biceps. What is the function of biceps? The function of biceps is to flex the elbow, right? So, to flex the elbow, patient has to relax the extensors of the elbow, right? Or the person has to relax the extensors. If the if the flexors and extensors are continually contracting, right? They are contracting, both of them are contracting. Is the movement possible? Yes. Anyone? No, the movement would not be possible. See, for example, if someone is taking you from this side and another one is opposing you from the another side, is the movement is possible? No. The same is with the muscle. For example, if I had to flex my elbow, if I have to flex my elbow, my bicep has to contract as well as my triceps has to relax at the same point. If it is not getting relaxed, your movement would not be happened. So same happened in your spasticity. Means your both the muscles, your agonist and your antagonist are contracting. So the patient will present as a, how the patient will present as a spastic, right? I hope it is clear. And if we see in the lower motor neuron lesion, the patient will present as a flaccid. So flaccidity type of muscle contraction would be there, right? And the second one is muscle paralysis will be both in the lower motor neuron lesion also and in the upper motor neuron lesion also. But here the patient is presenting with the spastic paralysis, right? But here the patient will present as a flaccid paralysis. Means weakness would be there of both the muscles in both the cases. But in the upper motor neuron lesion, the spasticity will be presented by the patient, and in the lower motor neuron lesion, flaccidity. Right? And if we see the third example, what is the what how the patient will present in the upper motor neuron lesion? Yes, your Babinski. Babinski is present. I hope everybody knows what is Babinski. And in lower motor neuron lesion, Babinski is absent. Right? And if we see another reflexes, how the patient will how if you check the reflexes of the patient, and if the patient has the upper motor neuron lesion, the reflexes will be always hyper. So hyperreflexia means if you give the sensation, the patient will present very much reflexes are present. So reflexes are hyper. So it is hyperreflexia. Whereas in the lower motor neuron lesion, the patient will present as a hyporeflexia, means reflexes are absent. Hyporeflexia or absent of reflexes. Right? And the another difference is in the upper motor neuron lesion, if the patient is presenting the spastic, what will be the tone of the nature? Hypertone. So hypertonicity. And if we will see in the lower motor neuron lesion, it is hypotonicity, means tone will be less, so it will be hypo. There is no tone, either there will be hypotonicity or the tone will be absent. Fine. So these are the some differences of the patient in the upper motor neuron lesion and the lower motor neuron lesion. Now we have discussed the function also, that what is the function of the pyramidal tracts. They control the skilled motor movements and they are responsible for your voluntary movements. Means the movements which you are doing, these are your voluntary movements. If the patient is having lesion in up to the anterior horn cell, there will be your upper motor neuron lesion patient will present, and below that there will be the lower motor neuron lesion. Now I just want to discuss one more thing with you, and with that I'll just complete the lecture for today. See, if the patient, okay, let's pose this a question for you. If the patient got injured at the level of what we say, below pyramidal decussation on the left side, what is the presentation of the patient, right? And your options are UMNL lesion type in the left side. Second option is LMNL type lesion in the left side. Your UMNL type lesion in the right side. Or your LMNL type lesion in your right side. Fine. I'll get to know that you understand it or not by this question. Please respond this question in the comment section. Please, please, please do share my video and watch my video, and just tell me if you want anything else. Okay. Thank you so much.